This is Kelly Hill, technology reporter for RCR Wireless News. I'm here today with Christina Richards, who is VP of Marketing at AOptix. She also has a background in electrical engineering. And we are going to be talking about AOptix and the role of backhaul and the Internet of Things. Welcome, Christina.
Great to be here. Thank you, Kelly.
Great. Well, let's start off with a little bit of context here. Tell us a little bit about AOptix and what you folks do over there.
Great. You know, AOptix actually has a really interesting history. It was founded by two astronomers in 2000, and they were working on the Keck telescope at Mauna Kea in Hawaii, taking images of deep space star fields, and using a really cool technology called curvature adaptive optics. And what that technology does is it allows you to resolve star field imagery by affecting the light that's coming through the atmosphere, because atmosphere really distorts light. And so when you have a ground-based telescope, you're looking at a far star field, the light's distorted and scintillated by the atmosphere. This technology allowed them to clarify that, and they get these really beautiful images of deep space. And at a certain point, they said, hey, you know, we might be able to use this technology in a commercial application. And so that's what they did. And actually, for the first 10 years of AOptix existence, they really focused on communications applications for the military, for defense. And they created a wireless network in the sky. So there were airplanes with wireless, with laser communication devices on the airplanes traveling through the air at Mach 1 and also pointing down to apertures on the ground, 4-inch apertures on the ground, sending these laser communications back and forth between these different units. And so it was really great time for AOptix to build up the technology and the patents and the knowledge base of how to do that tracking and get the laser communications to a really advanced stage using adaptive optics. And then the internet, the iPhone hit the world, and all of a sudden there's this huge demand for backhaul connectivity capabilities, and optical fiber just can't address all of it. And so at that point, AOptix made a strategic decision to take their technology, address this big need in the wireless communication space that really can't be addressed by other technologies. And so they used the adaptive optics, created a technology called composite optical RF technology, and that is what the product that we build today is. And it allows us to send 2 gigabits of data across up to 8-kilometer hops and solve problems like mobile backhaul.
Okay, great. So we're going to be talking a little bit about backhaul and the role of the Internet of Things. And so I'm wondering if you can start us off by talking about the impact that you expect IoT to have on the wireless network and what you think some of the potential pain points are.
Yeah, you know, Internet of Things is such an exciting topic because it's really going to change the way we interface with our daily lives with all different types of devices. Having that overlay of M2M connectivity across everything that we interact with is really, probably in ways we can't quite imagine right now, is going to change the way we interact with them. And one of the things that it's going to do is each of those little devices that have little bits of data to send back to the main network are going to need a way to get that data back there. And so, of course, this is what we talk about when we say backhaul, is getting things from the end device all the way back to the main switching center. Now, that can be addressed in a number of different ways, and certainly, Wi-Fi offloading would be one way that happens, but a lot of those devices are going to be mobile. They're going to be in motion and are going to have to be on the wireless networks. And as we know, the wireless networks that we have here in the U.S. and globally are already having a lot of load problems in terms of just our smartphones. So today we, quote unquote, just have 3 mobile devices per person. That's generating a lot of traffic. Now imagine not just the devices that you carry, but all of the interfaces and all the different machine nodes that are going to be doing things like monitoring and surveillance and all the different pieces that are going to be out there. Sending back, even though they're little bits of data, it becomes a Gulliver's Travels type of situation where a lot of little things can create a huge problem. So you've got all that being pulled back onto the wireless network, creating a whole new set of backhaul bottlenecks on top of the ones that we already have. So there's a lot of expansion that we need to do in the wireless networks to be able to handle that onslaught.
And it's worth mentioning, I think, also that, even for some of the big carriers like Verizon Wireless, I know that their smartphone penetration is, just above 50%. So even on the smartphone side, there's still a lot of data use yet to come.
Absolutely.
And that, doesn't even start to get into all of the things that we're starting to see in terms of wearables, in terms of and all of that is coming. So you mentioned Wi-Fi a couple of times. Maybe we can talk a little bit about what you see the role of Wi-Fi being, as we move toward more ubiquitous connectivity for things.
Sure. So Wi-Fi can solve the problem of things that are stationary, pulling some of that load off and getting them back onto the network without having to overload the wireless network. But, as we said, I think that there is a level of mobility that we will start to experience over the next, 5 to 10 years, where today, for example, in 2018, there's a statistic that says there'll be 4 machine-to-machine connections in each car. So if you think about how many new cars come out every single year, then that is a lot of M2M connections that are going to all have to be wireless and can't be addressed by a Wi-Fi solution. And that's just one example. There's many different examples of wearables and devices that won't be in a situation where they can be offloaded in that way. And all of those devices, all that capacity that's needed, even though they're little bits, there's many of them, so it exponentially grows and really puts a load on that wireless network.
Okay. So how do you see mobile operators grappling with this? We're starting to see IoT develop. It's definitely something that's getting a lot of attention. So how do you see them coping with it now, or what do you think are some of the ways that they will start to manage this as it becomes a higher percentage of network traffic?
Yeah, so I think it will continue to be the type of approach that they're having to put in place today, which is when you look at the wireless network and the way you get your backhaul back to your main switching centers, you need a high-capacity pipe that takes you from the aggregate levels back to the main center. And there's a couple of different ways to do that, but one of the main ways when you get into high capacity is fiber optics. The problem is you can't get fiber optics to every single tower, and so there has to be wireless solutions. And what we're finding today, and one of the reasons that AOptix built the technology that they have, is that the existing wireless technologies other than AOptix are starting to hit capacity limits. So they can still be deployed in some situations, but as we get these much bigger pipes needed, you need a wireless solution that can come in and be quickly installed. AOptix has a technology called point, acquire, and track, which allows you to put the units up on the towers, just get a gross alignment between the two units, and then the software takes over and has the alignment between the two units within a matter of minutes. So very quickly you can install additional capacity out into the network, and I think that we're going to need solutions like that that can be rapidly deployed, that don't require trenching for new fiber. And trenching itself, not only is it hard to get the permissions to trench, but it's environmentally invasive once you start digging up the ground and trying to get that construction in place. So wireless solutions that can handle the kind of capacity and availability requirements needed for backhaul networks are really going to be in demand as we move forward.
So as we talk about how this is going to be changing things, and we've talked about Wi-Fi, we've talked about cellular, I'm wondering what you see as potentially happening in terms of cellular networks versus private networks when you're talking about things like maybe industrial IoT uses, and whether you think we're going to see, still needing the cellular networks for the majority of M2M traffic, or if there's going to be some smaller scale things that are going to be able to really be what's used for some applications. I'm just kind of curious what you think about the breakdown there.
I really think it's going to be both. The amount of traffic needed is it's going to need more than just one solution. So we're going to see certainly a lot of fixed solutions that help with, industrial internet and those types of things that need capacity there. But at the same time, there's going to be a shift in the level of mobility that we have with everything. So the way we work, the way we play, the way we get groceries. There's going to be, a change in how much more we do these things on the move. And so less in fixed locations and more in locations that would require something wireless, something that goes back to the cellular network. So absolutely, the fixed solutions are part of it. And will be a significant portion of it, but some people think that will solve the entire problem, but that would only be if the Internet of Things was overlaid on the way we live our lives today. But if we look at what that will look like overlaid on the way we'll live our lives in 5 to 10 years, and we think about how much more mobility will be involved in those, how much more movement will be constantly going from place to place, then we realize that the Internet of Things needs solutions on both sides. It can't be handled with just fixed solutions.
So that 5 to 10 years is kind of the timeline that you see for this really taking off?
Absolutely. I think that it's one of those things that will start out in a trickle and then very quickly go into a wave. There's just, even if we look now at the type of wearables that are out there, I'm thinking about getting a Pebble. I really want a Pebble watch soon. But, there's little things. I've seen it creep into my own life, and I'm kind of a gadget person anyway, but I realize all of a sudden I have all of these new things that each one of them has tiny bits of data that are being transmitted, and as that continues to grow and as it becomes more just a natural part of our life, a lot of us today, we can't imagine being without our smartphones. It controls so much of what we do, or helps with so much of what we do, and yet in 2006, most of us, we may have had a BlackBerry, but we couldn't have even imagined an iPhone and the types of things it allows us to do on the go now. So I think there's just this whole new level of the level of comfort that we'll get with using these different types of devices, and then that comfort will eventually become kind of expectation. It'll be the way we expect to live our lives, and we'll need to have networks that can handle that.
Okay. One more question. Now, AOptix, I had a chance to visit your facility in California actually a while back, and I know that you guys have some work going on the East Coast in terms of a financial network. You've done some trials with wireless carriers, and I'm curious about what you're seeing in terms of the demand in the market. Are you seeing carriers or companies say, we really need this in terms of, planning for IoT capacity, or is IoT being addressed as part of kind of the larger network planning that's going on in terms of mobile data use overall, which is obviously huge, yeah, and growing all the time?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, yes, we're seeing a huge almost urgent need from the people that we're working with, the Tier 1 North American carriers. In fact, we just got done with the trial period for one of our Tier 1 customers, and now we're going into certification, and we should expect to see deployments going out in Q2 of next year. So we're really excited about that, and it's interesting because they're really excited too. They've got a level of need going on in their network that is causing them to accelerate, how we move through certification, how we get into deployment, because they know, they can't get fiber out to every cell tower, and the need is now. It's not in a couple years. It's right now that they need it. And to answer your question about how IoT fits into that, I would say that at this point in time, IoT is still considered, one of the things that's causing this need. But as we move forward and the number of things on the Internet of Things grows, that will probably change. I could see, particularly as more devices get into cars. I think that's going to be one of the big drivers. But there's other situations as well, different types of wearables that will really start to drive a capacity demand that will, when they look at, okay, what's causing our overall backhaul needs for expansion, IoT will start to percolate up as one of the big drivers for that. Right now, it's just one of a large number of things. Really, smartphone usage and video usage is really driving it. But yeah, the need is great, and certainly our focus as AOptix has really been, right now it's really focused on the mobile backhaul solutions because there's so much demand there. We just started a trial with a Tier 1 in Canada, with another Tier 1 in Brazil. We'll probably be announcing those in the fall. And so there's just so much going on in that space right now. And of course, you know about the financial services applications that the corridor that we built between New York and New Jersey for financial information. It'll be used by stock exchanges like NYSE and NASDAQ. You know about NASA as well. And but really, mobile backhaul is a huge driver for us. But there's other applications. Last mile enterprise is a huge need as well. We've got, I think, to this year's Vertical Systems report identified that there's still over 60% of the U.S. Commercial buildings that aren't connected by fiber, which is fascinating when you think about the fact that we've been deploying fiber for over 20 years now. I'm sitting here in a building in the heart of Silicon Valley, and we only got fiber to this building 6 months ago. So there's still a tremendous amount of need just from a fiber extension and last mile access perspective as well. And then there's a few other things like ad hoc networks, being able to go out to places where, for a temporary time, a large amount of capacity is needed. You can put an AOptix unit on a Cellular on wheels or Colt and run up the pole, point them at each other in a matter of minutes, and boom, all of a sudden you've got 2 gigabits connectivity in a place that you could never put down fiber. So there's a lot of really great applications, but certainly mobile backhaul is the big driver.
Okay, great. Yeah, and actually I had a chance to see that at work. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
So Christina, thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate the conversation, and we'll be looking for more news from you guys soon.
Great. Well, it's great talking to you, Kelly. Thank you.